Everybody, welcome back to the garage. Thanks for tuning in once again. Today we're going to go through what it's like to own a Range Rover Sport in 2024. Should you buy one? What's the truth about all the hype around the market dipping and the insurance and the thefts and stuff like that? How unreliable actually are they? Let's talk about it. So let's do the deed then, folks. Let's talk about the infamous Range Rover Sport and what it's like to own one in 2024. Let me paint a picture. This car is a 2015 65 plate Range Rover Sport SDV6 HSE. 7-seat model. It's done 77,000 miles. It was less than 20 grand. Less than £20,000. I think that is absolutely ridiculous value for money. You stick a private plate on this, and anyone at a glance would suggest you're driving around in a 50-60 grand car. They're proper premium, prestigious looking car, aren't they? And they're fully loaded with bits. They're a nice place to be inside. It's got a load of creature comforts with it. What an absolute load of car for the money. I don't think you can roll down the road looking more premium for sub 20 grand than this. But why? Why is it less than 20 grand for this car? Yeah, why are they so cheap? Well, that ties into some of the other points, isn't it? Let's talk about insurance then. So, insurance on these, you are reading and seeing horror stories, aren't you? And I can't deny that they're out there. I've had customers myself in conversations with that have suggested they can't buy a Range Rover that I'm showing them, or even an Evoque, because their insurance premium is, you know, in the thousands. It's nuts. Why? It's crazy. And then on the flip side, for me to insure this car in the interim between where I'm at and my renewal, which is due at the end of March, it's like 160 quid for the 3 months. Now, either there's some factors that come into play that I don't understand, maybe age, profession, mileage, geography, or I'm in for a hell of a shock at the end of March when I come to renew this bloody insurance. But you also hear that you can't actually insure them. Insurance companies won't actually offer you a cover. And that's true even of Land Rover. So a big thing came out back end of last year, didn't it? That Land Rover are offering their own insurance. But it's not a given. They won't just insure anything brand related. They're still saying no to a significant proportion of their brand. I read an article the other day, and the journalist doing the article owns a Velar, and he noted that Land Rover wouldn't even quote him. That's pretty scary, isn't it? So my advice is definitely do your research on your insurance before you take the leap and buy one of these things. Thefts then. So I'm still seeing plenty of Range Rovers and Land Rovers in the village I live in, so the insurance can't be too bad. Either those people are getting it right, or they've just got enough money to not give a shit. And yeah, the theft side of things, I'm not seeing or hearing a load of it occurring in the village or surrounding areas. I have heard a lot of it from, again, customers and people I know that it's happened to in the cities, so maybe it's more of a geography sort of related issue. London's a problem. I think Birmingham and some of the big cities, there is a problem with Land Rovers being stolen. Definitely, you hear a lot of chatter about it. It's definitely happening. Because all of a sudden people have realised how easy they are to steal or something, I think. It's got something to do with the boot, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's a pretty scary thought, isn't it? But I didn't experience it with the last one I owned, and I had that for, I don't know if it was 2 years or a year and a half, can't remember. And as you can see, I'm still driving this one, so I currently still own it. Residual value then. Driven by the things we just aforementioned, and the fact that the cost of living scenario at the minute just means that I think these cars are dropping off the radar for people. Once upon a time, when people had a little bit more disposable income and it wasn't a panic about their mortgage all of a sudden costing them twice as much, and gas and rates and everything's gone up, then, you know, you could find a few £100 a month to put towards something a bit more special that you didn't really need but you'd like to have, because, you know, you have more disposable income at play. And now I think that's just not the case. So the market for these, the audience for these is just slimmed right out. I think it's just slimmed right out, and as a result they are dropping like an absolute fucking stone, these things, to a point. Obviously it's got a plateau, hasn't it? Like I said with this one, how much cheaper can these get? What in 18 months this is going to be worth nothing, is it? That obviously can't happen. But ones that are 17, 18 registered versions of these, expect quite an aggressive book drop. They are dropping very significantly. There is another point to make, isn't there, that we touched on? Reliability of these cars. So how reliable or unreliable actually are they? Well, the easiest way to explain it is these cars are an absolute, genuine roll of the dice. You could be in the same breath the luckiest or unluckiest person to own a Land Rover, and there's no rhyme or reason or pattern to it. So this one had an engine, new engine, under warranty at Land Rover, 3 years old, 18,000 miles. Why? How did it need a new engine when it was 3 years old, done 18,000 miles with full Land Rover history? How in the hell is that even a thing? Maybe we'll never know. Some of them do 100,000 miles plus, never have a problem like that. So it's an absolute roll of the dice, these things. The last one I owned, for example, I bought it on 60 odd thousand miles. It had done 80 something when I'd finished. Only thing I ever had to do was a thermostat. It was like 90 quid. That's it. Never experienced any major problems. Yet the person that bought it off me had a problem almost within the first week. You can't write it, and you can't predict it. I speak to Land Rover specialists fairly regularly, being in the industry I'm in, and they say, look, Craig, they are a roll of the dice. We speak to customers once a year for their service with their Range Rover, and that's it. Whereas other times we'll speak to customers once a month with another issue, or the engine lights come on, or something stopped working. It's like you can't find a pattern for it seems. Now, based on conversations and statistics orientated around some people I know in the warranty business, the Land Rover product is in normal realms, fairly normal realms, aside from things like McLaren and stuff like that, is the most claimed for brand in the business. So that's got to say something, hasn't it? That's in both number of claims and cost of claims, because let's not forget, it is a very premium brand. Once upon a time, this car was close to 80 grand. And repair bills and things are going to reflect that. The best advice I can give if looking to buy one of these cars is check their history and arm yourself with a bloody good warranty. Now, I don't intend to say all that to put anyone off buying one, but if you're considering buying one, you have to understand all that information, I think, and then decide if the Land Rover product's the right brand for you. I love them to bits. I've got a good warranty. I'm aware of what could happen, and I accept it. If you're someone that wants trouble-free guaranteed motoring, not that you can achieve that in any sense these days, I don't think, but if you want to give yourself a good chance of it, then this car, Land Rovers, ain't for you, my friend, and they're not. Stay away from them. You'll have sleepless nights and anxiety for, well, your entire ownership, I would suggest. So stay away, but understand who you are. If you can put up with that as a reality, like I can, then I assure you now, you will have a very, very pleasant experience. Because when these cars are on form, I don't think anything touches them. There's something about the Range Rover. It's a very regal car to drive. They're so refined. they're comfy, they're very premium looking and feeling. It's just easy and effortless to drive. No matter what I do, if I'm popping down the road to go into town or go to the gym, don't even think about it. If I'm driving 2 hours up the road to Birmingham, like I was the other day for a conference thingy, then you don't even think about it, and you get out the other side feeling fresh as a daisy, and the drive's effortless, it's comfy, it's warm, it's easy, so smooth. And I hope the information and points that we've covered sort of can help you better understand if that is you or not. Because in the same breath, I'd hate for you to miss out on what I think is one of the best value for money cars on the market at the minute. But I'd also hate for you to blindly enter into Range Rover ownership because you can pick these up for modern hatchback money, not understanding that you could easily upset yourself. Let's recap then. I just want to make sure that we've covered all the points. So we've covered value for money, we've covered insurance, we've covered depreciation, we've covered, I've missed something, haven't I? Running costs. So it's important to understand that, you know, you might be able to go out and buy one for sub 20 grand, but can you actually afford to own it? Let's quickly touch on that. So let's talk about economy. So economy, you'll be lucky to see much over 30 to the gallon on these cars, depending what sort of driving you do. I drove to Birmingham from Swindon the other day, so it's mainly A roads and motorway. I think I achieved, and bearing in mind I wanted to get there swiftly but not unsafely, I achieved sort of mid 30s to the gallon, and on the way back when the traffic was heavier, I was more relaxed on the way back. I achieved about 38 to the gallon. You won't see 40 in these unless you're downhill with a good wind. Our driving is mixed between rural and open road, and I think on average we see about 26, 27, maybe 28 to the gallon out of these, which I think is fair. It's a big heavy truck in there with a 300 horsepower engine. I think that's fair. Tyres, mid-range tyres for these cars, it's going to cost you 600 quid plus for the set. A premium tyre like a Pirelli or a Continental or something like that, you're going to be looking at £1,000 for a set for all 4 tyres on this car fitted. So they're not cheap tyres. Servicing, I think they're every year or 12k. Correct me if I'm wrong. And a minor service, so basic oil and filter change. It's a big thirsty engine. This takes lots of oil, so I think that would cost you, you know, a few hundred quid. A major service is going to be upwards of 600 quid, depending what you have done. So I'd budget £500 a year for servicing as an average. You're probably going to go through tyres every year or so, because being a big heavy SUV, they are quite heavy on tyres. And if you do need to do bits like the transfer box oil needs doing every 70k, that needs to be done on a specific machine that most likely only Land Rover or Land Rover independent specialists will have themselves. That you're going to be staring down the barrel of close to £1,000 to get that done, I reckon. But it's a nice thing to have done, and once you've had it done, it's done for 70k. All the oil gets flushed and drained and renewed, and they update the software on it as well, I think. So it's a nice thing to have done. This one's had that done. And cam belts are every 7 years or 84k, I think. So I think they're a bit of a bastard, the cam belts on these. I think it's a big old kit in the back of the engine. So I think you could safely say you're staring down the barrel of several £100 for that. Close to 1,000, I would suggest, is probably safe to budget, and you probably get change out of that, but not loads. Brakes on these, they're quite big, aren't they? Brembo discs and pads. I would expect brakes to be 500-600 quid for the front, and probably slightly less for the rear. I think we've covered it. I think that's the video. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to drag it out. So I think at this point I'll say again, if I've missed something or not covered anything that you guys might want to know with regards to the Range Rover. Like I say, I own this now, so I have it for the foreseeable. As long as no one nicks it and the engine stays where it's supposed to be, then we're quite happy to own it for a while. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. It helps us out more than you can imagine. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more. We've got some interesting content coming up. We're finally picking up Greg's RS6 Avant today, the C5. And we've got a couple more bits in the pipeline. So again, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I very much look forward to seeing you in the next one.